Did you know that by studying a second language or a third or a fourth, what have you, you are actually accumulating mental superpowers? Now, granted, you'll likely never be able to fly or travel through time, but what you will be able to do is have these cerebral superpowers that are very different from what monolingual people can achieve. You get special abilities that people that speak one language just don't have. So what are those abilities and what can you do to gain them? That's what I'm going to discuss in this video. All of the information is based on research and on studies, but I will be presenting it in a way that is much more manageable and fun rather than, let's say, dry and lengthy. So I'll be condensing a lot of that research into one short video. So let's start with the first superpower. That would be enhanced mental flexibility. So bilingual and multilingual people actually have this ability to switch between tasks very easily, and improved creativity also as a result, because we're able to hold many things in our heads, many ideas, many differing viewpoints, which can help us very easily to multitask. Now, granted, a lot of times people will be like, you should not multitask, you should rather focus on one thing at a time. Yes, but there are some activities that are inherently multitask-like. Like, you cannot avoid it. There are certain areas in life in which you have to handle multiple stimuli coming from different directions. And this is where the bilingual and multilingual brain excel. Because speaking multiple languages, even two, it often means that you're constantly switching between them. You're constantly inhibiting one and using the other. And your brain is making that decision in the background the whole time. It does not rest. Now I'm speaking English and my brain has to, of course I don't feel this, but in the background, it has to suppress the other languages that I speak. It has to choose words that it has labeled as English and use those words in those sentences, and consistently to suppress the rest. Now this strengthens what's called the brain's executive control system, and so it leads to much greater neuroplasticity and brain flexibility. So multilingual people can multitask much better than the average individual, let's say. That is regardless of other control factors, such as are they innately good at multitasking or not. It doesn't matter, because learning multiple languages greatly improves that. And it also means that multilingual people are able to just switch between tasks much easier. Also, it's not just switching between tasks, but also creativity, because you're able to draw upon different ideas at the same time and to kind of transfer learnings and findings from one to the other. That is a central core of being creative. And so your creativity gets boosted if you speak another language as well. It's just the brain becomes very flexible, very malleable, and so it's able to adapt to different situations. It can also lead to greater emotional intelligence and just coping better in many areas of life. It's just that your brain is doing all of that in the background, so these neural networks are just strengthened so well that to you, stuff like multitasking is probably comes easily. Stuff like creativity, stuff like just switching from one task to another and getting in the flow, something that would take people a long time to do, especially if you interrupt their focus, you're able to regain it like that because of speaking a foreign language. Another benefit, another superpower that you can get is much stronger memory and focus or attention. So there's reasons for this that are very similar to the first one, to the first superpower we discussed, which is that all of this juggling just leads to strengthening and brain growth. So what that means is that you get better memory. Now, memory in language learning, you don't need a good memory to learn a language, because learning a language is a skill. It's not like a list of stuff to be memorized. And that is why I love the comprehensive movement method so much, as opposed to, let's say, drills. But a side benefit that you would get from learning a language, and an indisputable one, is that you'll get better memory. Now, this is really good because with time we get exposed to so much information and we have so many stimuli in this modern world, which are, honestly, most of them are self-inflicted, but still we get so many that memory tends to suffer, and we tend to rely so much on modern conveniences that we kind of don't really have to remember anything anymore the way we used to have to. So that muscle of just training your memories, that skill is now just almost gone. So switching between languages actually helps with that and helps strengthen memory, and it also helps with focus. So again, focus is something that, thanks to social media and thanks to doom scrolling and thanks to just the way that we are with like what's happened with our attention spans, focus is something that we barely are able to do at this stage, unfortunately, and attention spans are rapidly declining. But you can counteract that if you speak a second language or a third. It really helps. Again, this juggling that I was talking about, it really helps with focus. And studies have shown that bilingual people have an easier time when focusing. They have an easier time, when they have to pay attention to something, and so that their attention isn't as fleeting. Now, granted, our modern way of life and technology is probably counteracting that effect, but at least it comes out in the wash. At least, like, you get that benefit, and then you have the counteract from, the way we live, and then you kind of end up probably at the same level. But it's better than nothing, because at the end of the day, this improved focus, even if you're destroying it through doom scrolling, you're still getting improved focus just because you speak many languages. So if you're really struggling with focus, now might be the time to pick up a second language. Now, the third superpower. Imagine your brain being able to adapt and reorganize itself and give itself an upgrade. That is exactly what is happening when you learn another language. I would call it enhanced neural connectivity, because studies have shown that bilingual individuals and multilingual individuals often have better gray and white matter density. So what that literally means is brain growth and also strengthening between the connections between the different areas of the brain. There are many studies that point to this, but my favorite one is from Sweden. And what they did in the study is they had two control groups, one of interpreters, the other one was with people that were studying very hard but not languages. So medical students, this is what they chose. They were like, how difficult of a subject matter can we pick? Medicine seems to be pretty difficult. So they put side to side those two groups, one which were interpreters, like studying a new language, the other one which were medical students. And so over a period of 3 months, they observed what happens. And the results were astonishing. In multiple areas of the brain, the interpreters showed much greater growth in gray matter. So literally, your brain is growing when you study a new language. And the medical students did not show that, although their brains were also working super hard. And the benefits are, so all of those benefits we're talking about, you can't just get them if you study something really hard, if you pick up new skills or hobbies, of course. All of that influences brain plasticity, all of that influences neural connectivity, of course. But at the end of the day, nothing does it quite as much as learning a new language. And it was just a staggering discovery when the study was conducted, because the researchers, again, I can't know what was going on in their head, but I imagine if they compared those two groups, they were like, well, probably both groups studied really hard. You should probably both be able to get the same thing. But the science is there showing that what really happened at the end of the day is that learning languages is what grows the brain much more than learning other things. And so what that means is kind of you're giving your brain an upgrade every time you learn a new language, and you're just getting this ability to learn better and to perform better at many, many things. For example, there have been many studies that show that bilingual children do much better on standardized tests at school. And not just standardized one, but overall, with like whatever test that they get, whether it is standardized or something more creative, bilingual children perform better. They're able to switch between tasks more easily, hold their attention more easily, they're able to learn more quickly, essentially requiring less studying and having more time for other activities. They're able to perform better than their monolingual peers. So it's not just in the language field, you kind of get a brain boost regardless of what field you're in, and you're able to perform better mentally. And that can be helpful in many children, including kids with autism. There has been studies that show that autistic kids, when they learn other languages, when they're bilingual, they have the ability to better manage their daily tasks and tasks. They have better cognitive development than their peers that don't speak multiple languages. So that goes across kids with different neurodivergency status. And there have been great improvements in how kids can handle different tasks. And there have been overall many studies that demonstrate that truly when it comes to both kids and adults, you get a lot of benefits from learning a second language. So it's not really that only kids get those benefits. You actually, a lot of those benefits you would not get if you're bilingual from birth. Because a lot of times speaking two languages, when that's how you're raised, a lot of times you don't get as much gray matter growth. You get all of the other benefits, but not necessarily as much brain growth. Whereas if you learn a new language when you're 5 or when you're 35, you also get the brain growth on top of that, and the benefits are even more supercharged. Now, caveat here, there is a little bit of a lack here in this area of lack of research. We're not sure at like every different age exactly how many benefits you get, but we know you get benefits at every single age when it comes to learning multiple languages. So whether you're a kid or you're further along in your life, you still get those same benefits. And speaking of being further along in your life, something else that you get is that you get this protection, and you get these few extra years against the onset of Alzheimer's and dementia. And especially with aging populations, this is a very important superpower. Because imagine your brain as a castle. And with time, with age, with the health choices we make, with a lot of like the emotional experiences that happen to us as well, you can see the castle crumble. And it's inevitable, right? With age, of course, certain things decline. But what we know from research on patients with potential for Alzheimer's and dementia, we know that that castle, the foundation, is going to depend on many things, like the material used, etc. So those are all of those external factors, such as how the castle was built, like what do you put in it. So those are things like diet, exercise, healthy lifestyle, levels of stress, also emotionally speaking, and just socioeconomic status, unfortunately, as well influences that. There's so many things that influence brain health, but it's not, regardless of like what those things are for you, if you speak multiple languages, you're going to be adding somewhere between 5 to 10 years delaying the onset of Alzheimer's. That is wonderful news because, as I mentioned, aging world is going to require a lot of dementia care because the unfortunate reality is our brains are deteriorating over time. So if you speak foreign languages, it's kind of like you're building a moat around your castle. Like it doesn't matter, almost doesn't matter, right? How good the construction is, etc. The foreign army, which might be Alzheimer's, is not gonna get in, even if the castle has started to crumble thanks to, let's say, poor lifestyle choices or just age or whatever. It's not gonna get in for a while because it's gonna have that moat to fight. That's what the cognitive reserve is. That's what speaking additional languages does to your brain. It protects your brain in a way that few other things can protect your brain. You see, when you have that protection, it means that, whatever age you're gonna get Alzheimer's at, potentially, right? Your brain is gonna delay that by a few years just because you speak many languages. And that cognitive reserve can be enhanced if you add additional languages to it. Now, researchers are not sure if you speak 2 and 3 or if you speak 10, like what the difference is exactly. That is one huge gap in the area of multilingual research. We don't know how much of a benefit a bilingual has versus a multilingual. We know that it's an additional language, even one, improves the brain greatly, but we just don't know how much each additional one would improve it. But what we do know is that likely not as much as speaking that first foreign language, but the more you add, the bigger that moat gets and the better protected your brain is. So what does this mean for you? It likely means that here's what we know. We know that there's so many benefits and that your brain can have superpowers if you learn a foreign language. Now, what happens if you learn 2 or 3 or 5? We don't know exactly how much better it's gonna get, but it's gonna get better. That is what we know. And what does it mean from here on out? If you want to learn another language, get some of those benefits. How do you do this? How do you make sure that you are able to have this supercharged brain? So through study, over the years, I have had like both the typical school method and then studying by myself. I've seen that there's quite a bit of difference between the different methods of learning a language. I have toyed also a little bit with that kind of, flashcards, drills type of language learning, just very little. I did not like it at all. What I found to be the most useful way is comprehensible input. That is input that you are able to understand through certain clues and context, etc. And so immersing yourself in the language, whether you're in the country or not, just kind of putting yourself in that frame. And usually the way that this works is you learn through context, through stories, through listening and reading and watching movies and what have you. So something that I always recommend, and you know if you watch this channel I recommend this, is Link. So here's how you can grow your brain using Link. What Link is first of all, a company was founded by my favorite polyglot, Steve Kaufman. He has studied over 20 languages in his life. So he does have this super brain, and he founded this company because what he wanted to do was have a place where you can have an extensive library of comprehensible input. This is exactly what Link offers. It offers thousands of hours of content in your chosen language. What I really like about Link, especially for somebody like myself that learns multiple languages, is that it has many, truly many. So not just like the 10 most common, but you can learn many languages on there, even more niche ones, even dead ones like Latin, if that tickles your fancy. So whatever you want to learn, whether it is kind of like a small language like Serbo-Croatian is on Link, or a huge one that almost everybody learns like Spanish, you can get a lot of those. And you can take it with you on the go. It's available on, you know, your tablet, your phone, and also of course on web. Depending on how you like to learn, where you want to learn, it has many wonderful features in that you can use it to learn through podcasts, through news, through business commentary, through recipes, through Netflix, through YouTube, whatever you want. It's all real content, and that is what helps the language sink into your brain, and that is what's going to lead to all of those wonderful benefits that we discussed. If you're interested in Link, check out my description to see how you can get a discount on it. Because what you're able to get is, of course, you can check it out for free, but then if you want to step up your game and have the ability to create unlimited links, which are those kind of new words and concepts you come across that you might want to revisit again, then of course I recommend you get the paid version in that case. But in any case, I think that Link is a wonderful place to learn, because you can get that exposure to comprehensible input, and then you can solidify and revise and use the different modes that Link offers whenever you want to. And something that I find really good about Link is that when I'm reading and I don't know a word and I'm really wondering like, what is this? I cannot get it from context. I can just click on it instead of having to Google or look it up in some dictionary. So to me, that is super useful. And I think it's also great that I can just take it on the go and pop in my AirPods and just listen whenever I want to. So thank you to Link for sponsoring this video. As always, I am more than happy to recommend them. They're the longest running sponsorship on my channel for a reason. I'm obsessed with Link, and I think that it's probably just one of the best systems out there to learn languages. I think they're amazing. So let me know if you have any questions on that, but I would say, yeah, if you want to capitalize on those benefits, and if you want to increase that moat around your brain and protect it, definitely start learning a new language. You don't need the new year for that. You can do it anytime, any place. Thank you, and see you soon. Bye.